Well, it looks like immigration is back in the news and at the top of the news. That gentleman who they deported, the El Salvadorian guy, whatever his name is, they're making a big old deal about his case, and it's not that big of a deal. He snuck into the United States. Trump and them probably had no right to deport him legally because he was had a court order or was going through some kind of court proceeding. That's understandable totally. Trump deported him. Now he's in El Salvador. The Democrats and the left-leaning news stations are trying to make the El Salvadorian jail out to be like the worst prisons ever, and they keep showing the same file footage, and it's just like a regular prison. Not that I'm familiar with the inside of a prison, but you know, any familiarity that I've had with prisons and what people in prison look like and how they dress, and seeing footage of that kind of stuff in the United States, it looks not very different. In fact, that looked like a better run prison and one that as an inmate you might feel safer in because it looked, unless they were doing a photo shoot, like there was a heavy police officer presence in there. So that would, you know, balance it out. You don't want to be in there with too few guards and too many inmates. You want to balance it out a little better. But I don't know if they have the prison industrial complex in El Salvador like we do here in the United States. You know, I've been seeing a big increase, and that's the reason I'm doing the video today, you guys, is because I've seen a big increase in black men like me crying and whining and begging for this guy to be returned to the United States in a helicopter ride in a limousine delivered back to his wife and kid. And I disagree totally. For shit, he accidentally got deported. Oops. I don't, I'm not diminishing his life or any of that kind of stuff. But sometimes we walk in particular paths and things come back later in life and bite us. It's happened to black men their whole life. You do something when you're a teen or something when you're a young, very young adult, and your life is ruined. You never come back from it. This man was able to come in here illegally, build a life with a wife and a kid, work, obviously, have a job. He's still an illegal immigrant and he's working. I mean, are we okay with that? Is that the way it's supposed to go? Why do we have job numbers come out each month for how many people are unemployed and employed when you have millions of illegal immigrants with jobs? Are they counted in these numbers? How's this going? And why are we so okay with it? Is this Democratic talking point that you have to be a MS-13 member or a rapist in order to get deported? But if you can sneak into the country and get into the United States, you're good. Because then all bets are off. You get a court date and you can go in there and give them a sob story. All of them doing this regularly would know what works and what don't work. Oh, no, don't tell them that. They'll send you back. You know, tell them you're scared for your life. You can't go back, return to your home, you know, and they know what to say, whatever they're saying, but it's working. And the United States Democrats are playing party to that. And they heavily regulate black men. That's my problem. And I'm going to just say this shit. Black men are too heavily regulated in this country. Completely. You're an illegal immigrant. You come into the country, you've broken the first law of walking through the gate. So everything else is cool after that. You can have a firearm. You might have been to prison over there before, but you're in the United States now. You get a clean slate. Is that how it goes? Black men need to quit crying for that guy and what's going on with them, because we didn't have anything to do with him sneaking into the country, and we didn't have nothing to do with him getting deported. So we need to mind our own business and leave that guy be. If he's a citizen of El Salvador, just like he snuck in the country and got away, well, they got him back. And he is truly a citizen of El Salvador, so he is where he belongs. And I'm going to tell you, that's what needs to happen to any and all of them, only so we aren't. So I was hearing a story the other day about school districts in the United States with up to 30% absentee rate because the illegal immigrant children are afraid to go to school. 30% of a school is missing because they're afraid to come. Well, what if that 30% wasn't going to that school? Wouldn't that enhance the education of the United States citizen children? Working with a teacher not being so overburdened. Well, no wonder our kids aren't being educated, because your kids aren't, and I don't mean popcorn community. I'm talking about our legislators. Their kids are not going to school with illegal immigrants. If their kids were being crowded in classrooms with illegal immigrants, with kids coming across the border without proper immunization, possibly having measles outbreaks or any other thing that they could possibly pass on to children who are following rules and laws and vaccines. And if these kids are being vaccinated and going through everything that all the kids in the United States are going through, and their parents are working jobs just like we do here in the United States, make them citizens. Just document them so that we as Black people who have been in this country before you considered us citizens and have worked our way into this place, and we still don't get that kind of treatment. I don't see any stories about any Black men that have happened in this country and that the Black guy may have sold drugs and went to prison, let's say. But did anybody realize that he never learned to read properly? That he wasn't encouraged to go to school, and he came from a home where he probably didn't have the backing or the support to even get to school every day. And it could be a multitude of other things. But the fact of the matter is, where's our compassion then? Where are we out why aren't we out in the streets crying and whining about that? Because the Democrats are responsible for it. They can't cry and whine about something they can do something about. They're frustrated now because they can't do shit about this guy who got deported because Donald Trump ain't playing. He's serious about it. And it's a good thing. 30% of absenteeism, as you move about, it could be a little more, a little less, but that's a lot of kids who are illegal immigrants. Now, these are children who weren't born here, or were they? I mean, if they're in school age, that's 5 years. That's 5 years. That means that they should be citizens, even if they weren't born here. You've been going to school with American citizen children for 5 years. They were even talking about Trump giving the guy over there in El Salvador, the president, like up to $15 million to take these prisoners. Because some of them aren't El Salvadorian. He just sent them people over there. And it's kind of like, yeah, I get it. If you got to do that to get him to accept these people and to help, the overburdening of his prisons, just like if you overburden a school system, or if you overburden a cafeteria, or if you overburden a library, or anything else that you overburden because of your policies or because of your lack of securing a border, or whatever it might be. So what are we supposed to do? What are we as American citizens who you move these people into our community? What are we supposed to do? How is that supposed to work? Or you really don't care because you make the laws, but you don't have to live with them. You don't have to live and a vacant house comes open next door to you, and you find out after 2 years that the family that moved in is illegal immigrants. They're not even here legally. I mean, they might be really nice people. You might have come to know them. It might be all good. Those are the good cases. But what if they're like not really good people? What if there are issues going on next door that most people would rather not live next door to? I mean, just because it's an undocumented household of people in the United States of America, it just doesn't sound like words that I should be saying. People should be more concerned about their safety and the status of the American population than trying to overextend ourselves by reaching and inviting in a bunch of more folks who are not immediately paying into the tax base and we have to pay for them. We have to support them. $15 million is a small amount to pay El Salvador to take these folks back, when we know it costs many, many millions of dollars, up into the billions, to house them, feed them, help them find jobs. The United States government is helping illegal immigrants find jobs. Unions in the United States are working with illegal immigrants and helping them find employment. That's backwards. That's not supposed to be that way. They need to cross the threshold of becoming citizens, and then they should get everything that a citizen of the United States gets. And it just cuts deep to be a black man saying this to you, when in 2025 we are still below water when it comes to our rights and our opportunities and our access to education, good food, good anything. But we're going to move into this clip and pop in and out. I like this one a lot. I did a short video on it before. Really, none of my videos are short, but I think that one was kind of short. I wasn't really feeling the idea. I said a lot of the same things I'm saying right now in this forward, because he's just got to know, if you knew you were going to be treated too damn good, everyone would be leaving. Hey, go to America. When you get there, you get this and you get that, and then after you get established and set up, and if you can get the citizenship, then they got loans for you so you can start a business. And with the government's, the taxpayers have less opportunity than the illegal immigrants coming in, and that's just terrible.
So, Peter, is El Salvador's president open to receiving more criminal migrants to come to his notorious mega prison?
Yes, Sandra, and that is the backbone of this newly blossoming relationship between the United States and El Salvador.
We're a great country, but we had stupid people running this country, and I can say it. But what they've done to us at the border should never and can never be forgotten. It's a sin, what they did. And you are helping us out, and
it was bad for Biden to, as president of the United States, to intentionally allow that to happen. I mean, if you are putting the proper resources and the funding it, and it is what it is. We have holes and folks get in. That's understandable, but to intentionally relax, that is unforgivable. It truly is. And I don't know why it isn't being looked at in that way. Even if your heart is in that place where you feel an illegal immigrant deserves all the rights that an American citizen gets, as long as they're a clean, decent person. They get everything that it takes away the incentive of being a citizen here, but it also encourages them to just get in. All you got to do is just get in, which encourages more trafficking. It encourages children being separated from their parents. Who wants to encourage that stuff?
appreciate it.
Anybody who is anybody that could help get Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. is in the Oval Office right now. The Supreme Court wants the White House to help facilitate his return after that lower court ruled he was wrongfully deported. But it's not going to happen. White House officials say he was determined years ago to be a gang member, and the El Salvador president says
that's something we need to talk about, too. The United States government, years ago, apparently, I guess he was investigated twice, and they came to the same conclusion twice, that he was a MS-13 gang member. Now, he was obviously identified as one, but not tracked and caught up until now. So they're saying he was an MS-13 gang member. That's a United States government agency that said that. Why we should go any further with this is a mystery to me. If the FBI or the ICE agency or whoever does the investigating on that kind of a thing, as far as gang members, you gotta give these guys a wide berth. They're dealing with immigrants who are coming over the border, and they just have to go on their instincts and whatever training they got and whatever little information they can compile. And I don't think they're going to be able to stop all of the MS-13s from getting in the country. And they're probably going to label some people who aren't MS-13. I get it. But as a person in that country, you have to realize sneaking into another country isn't going to be a bowl of cherries. There's going to be some issues potentially. And I think that that's where the Democrats hurt us, because they make the immigrants think we're over here just waiting on you with open arms and waving them in. And it appears that that's the case, and it shouldn't be. We should totally act like a country who has a border that we're protecting. And when people do breach it and get in and we catch up with them, we put them back on the other side. We lock them up for a little bit until we can get a plane ready, and then they go. You know, maybe you want to wait until you fill up a bus or a plane. I don't know, and don't drop them off at their front door. They don't get a ride back home. You got to have a designated area in their country somewhere, and their government needs to know, so nobody ain't being put out in the middle of a desert nowhere. Keep it humane, keep them fed, keep them hydrated, and get them back home.
Releasing him doesn't make sense for either country, so he won't.
Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very far.
They're playing a little game. If Trump wanted that guy back, he would have to first deem him not to be a gang member. And I don't know why this guy would, if he has already been identified as a gang member because he got pulled back in the Democrats and a lot of black men are whining about it. What is the problem? What so? I mean, I don't know what to say. He had to have known that this couldn't go good, but it did. It went better than expected. And you get comfortable, but you got to keep pushing for that citizenship for stuff like this. And Trump is so hard to gauge. I don't know what he's doing this on purpose so that he keep everybody. That's his little way of dealing with people. And it works. It's effective. But he's going to get away with this. There's no court that's going to make him send a plane, because if he does, he'll send the plane, show footage of it, and the prison doors will swing open and nobody will come out. And they'll go, well, where is he? And that president will say, well, he's in jail. He's a identified MS-13 member, and he snuck into the United States, and we got a hold of him. And now, we got to put him through our system for whatever the hell they figure out to charge him with. It's a dangerous thing to be in jail. It's not fun. He could get killed in there. But you have to think about that kind of, don't do things that could wind you up in jail. And if it does happen, you got to understand, you got to man up, and you did whatever you did to get you there. And it is what it is, unfortunately. Because people don't just stop the clock and open cell doors at 2 a.m. and be like, hey, come on out. And everybody else is in there like, hey, what about us? It don't work like that. And when you get behind them bars, ain't no special treatment. And he needs to understand that, unfortunately, I keep saying. And we need to understand that if we got to be documented, everybody got to be documented. And I have to be documented. I can't go nowhere. I can, but I don't go nowhere without my wallet, because I want somebody to come up to me asking for ID, and I want to be able to break that out. And then when it go past that, then we got a problem. I'll always comply and show ID. And I've heard people argue and say, y'all don't have to show you my ID, and you may not. But if showing my ID, and I know I'm a upstanding citizen with current taxes, you know what I'm saying? I'm good. But I will show my ID to a police officer if that's going to be the difference for me, maybe not going home or not. I'm not going to even, getting that, oh, I see it, show me, I don't even want that problem for that. Now, once I show them, that, then I feel bad, because I can be easily triggered when I know somebody just messing with me. I don't like that part. If they could just do the thing and be like, well, sir, I pulled you over because, and it's usually your tail light. I mean, not your tail light, your license plate frame was out. I was driving a couple of months ago. A young black cop pulled me over. your license plate frame is out, you know, and I'm thinking, yeah, but it's daytime. You know what I'm saying? It's daytime. Why? I'm coming home from, it's like 4:30 in the afternoon. What is the problem? It's not even dark yet. But my headlights are always on. My, you know, like in my tail lights, it's one of them cars. But that don't mean and my license plate lights are out. But we all have reflective plates in California. And anyway, I know he was messing with me, and I was cool. We talked for a minute, and I think when he walked up on the side of my door and realized I was almost 100 years old, he left me alone. He was cool. He was like, I'm gonna leave that old man alone, and I drove off. But we're gonna get back to the tape. I just have to tell y'all, I get pulled over, and that's how I survive a traffic stop. Just show them the ID, you know, and don't be trying to anger them. I would love to be able to control the ass whooping to the point of where I could sue them and be here to collect. But when they get on you, you don't know what they might do. They could do that Derek Chauvin shit on you, and you're on the ground getting, you know, choked out, and you're like, oh, fuck. And there's nothing you can do because you might have went a little too far, and we want to live. That's it. But we want to be safe, but we also want the same rights as other people too. And especially illegal immigrants. Why are they so comfortable with the undocumented potential gang members being over here? That just doesn't make any sense to me. And the people are angry and mad about it, like they want one. You know, oh no, illegal immigrants, where can we get one? That's not the way it works. These people are human beings like everybody else, and they need to be treated with the utmost respect. But they also need to be kept on that side of the border until they come legally, or as visitors. Come and visit. Go to school here, or whatever you have to do. I don't know the process to citizenship, but I think it's too long. I'm not gonna say that I think it's fair, but this isn't a fair country. You know, so it would be real hard for me to advocate too hard for the fairness of the immigrants, and I don't feel like I've achieved that yet. It would just be counterproductive. Helping me take another person and put them on my shoulders like we've been doing for so long. This is time for us to stop that, to wind that down, and to listen to what Donald Trump is saying in this instance. He hit and miss. Some of the stuff he do might make absolutely no sense in the world. But you guys telling me you agree with everything Joe Biden did? Did you agree with everything Obama did? Did you agree with everything Jimmy Carter did or Clinton? I mean, it's how it is. George Bush did some things I agree with, the little Bush. But I was far from being a Republican then. But I thought after, I guess 9/11 is something that has happened. They got this barber or this makeup artist, and they just make you look like a damn president, no matter who you are. Obama looked so too young. He looked fresh faced, and as soon as he really got into that campaign and won, they transformed him into a president. That's a gift.
Of releasing terrorists into our country.
This is the first day in weeks since Liberation Day that tariff talk has not completely dominated the conversation here as you go down tent by tent on the North Lawn. But it did come up. President Trump said a few minutes ago there will soon be new tariffs on pharmaceutical imports. Sandra.
Peter Ducey at the White House with the news for us. Peter, thank you. For more on that, let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former DHS deputy assistant secretary. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So first, here's President Trump in that Oval Office meeting a short time ago when he was specifically asked if he's open to deporting more criminal migrants. Here's the Q&A.
You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized Americans?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn.
Yeah, if they go in black churches and shoot people, innocent people they're worshiping, you know, that's what really pissing me off about Trump. He started talking that shit that reminds me of how Biden talked about black people back in the day. You know, they without saying black people, but that's what you're talking about. Down in Brooklyn, he talking about, you know, he might be talking about Puerto Ricans, he might be talking about other groups, but it feels to me like he ain't. And it sounds so racist, whoever he's talking about, because I know he's not talking about white kids hitting people over the head, 90-year-old women over the head with baseball bats and robbing them. Well, unfortunately, when things like that happen, it's because a person has a mental illness or has not eaten for an extended period of time. So if we educate them so that they can get jobs and feed themselves, I don't think that most people who have apartments or homes with a car and a big enough budget where they can take themselves out to eat and watch a movie every once in a while are robbing people and hitting them over the head with bats. So, I mean, I get a little pissed off when he goes into racial mode because it's fucked up and there's no reason for it. But he does do it, and he has been doing it a lot lately, and is getting a little old. And what he needs to do is stick to his policies and don't go too far outside of that, because he seems to go a little bit too far outside of it. And because he does that with his inability to stay on track, and with his inability to be on topic at all times, it would be foolish for us or anybody who wants anything to not go to him. We have been to the Democrats with the Democrats, and either we're not asking or they're not giving us anything. But the bottom line is, this guy would be more apt to be the swinging door that we may be able to run through, as opposed to the Democrats. The Democrats are solid on what they will and will not do for us. And it's more will not than will. And we keep rolling with it. We're okay with it, so they keep doing it. We're okay with it. If we told the Democratic Party in the morning, we done. And they'd be like, what? Where are you going? You know, everything. No, you guys don't do shit for us. Nothing. Nada. We're out. Hey, come on. Let us talk to you. If they give us one thing, if they do one thing for us, then that means they could have did it before. They just didn't want to. And there's other things that they can do. You want somebody who is truly especially with what we've been through and where we're at, what we got to show for it. With our net worths dropping. Everybody's talking about the blacks who do have 401ks and any money in the stock market. And you got to sit here and let these guys do this because the other guys did that. So it's always going to be bad. He get out, Democrats get in, then we're going to have the country filling up with illegal immigrants, taxes up the wazoo going everywhere, Biden doing his best to start World War III. You know, I mean, it's like both of them do horrible shit. But I see more things coming out of this administration that I can get on board with. A whole lot more things. And just to, this is like a little public service announcement for you black men who ain't keeping up with the Second Amendment. Trump is working at it, and I don't know if he's going to be successful because they're opposing him. But he has a supermajority. He's trying to do his thing, but he is trying to reinstate gun rights to anybody who's a United States citizen. Meaning, once they release you from jail and you've done your probation, parole, or whatever, they might have court jurisdiction type things. Once that's over with, you can go and get a firearm. And that's fair. And that's the right thing to do, because if you can't, they shouldn't let you out of jail. Your time should have been extended. You should have got more time. But once you have a family and a home and personal items that need to be protected like the rest of the world, and you are especially convicted of a felony that wasn't a violent one, they need to knock it off. That's racism at its highest level. To lock up a man of color when he gets out, don't give him back his gun rights. Don't give him back his voting rights. You know, make him a little less than what everybody else is. Absolutely not. And it isn't in the Constitution, by the way. Everybody always talking about the Constitution. If we followed the Constitution to the letter, I think we'd like the country better. The reason we get all messed up is because they add these amendments and add these laws and bills and acts and all this other shit, why in the hell should there ever be a Voting Rights Act? Any citizen of the United States should have the exact same rights as any other citizen of the United States. But back when that document was written, we weren't looked at as their peers, their equals. We were their property. So with us being their property, how in the hell, if you can tell me, how in the hell can they ever do right by us? That's the problem. This gentleman who they deported to El Salvador was never their property. He's just a guy coming over for a better life. Just wants to do better for his family and for himself. There's nothing wrong with that. But what about us? You guys even notice that we've been trying to do better for ourselves the whole time we've been here? Nobody seems to see that.
Yeah, that includes them. What, do you think there's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in.
Jonathan, safe to say the president was very firm in his message.
Yes, he is very firm on this, and it's having a tremendous effect as we see every single day at the border. Nobody's coming across anymore, and I don't mean literally, but as Bill Maluzhin reports daily, the numbers are so small because people know that President Trump will deport them if they're criminals and send them back, or whether to their country or to El Salvador or somewhere else. So it's having
Yeah, that would kind of make you nervous. I mean, you already snuck in, though. It's too late. You got to just be nervous or duck and dodge. But if you were over there, you'd be thinking, you'd hate to come from Mexico or another Latin country and get deported to El Salvador and go down to that prison system where they got gangs and different things that you ain't familiar with. You'd be like, oh, no. I mean, I don't mind they lock me up in my country, but take you to the wrong country. But it's an error that is going to happen when you're dealing with as many people as they're dealing with. And I really do feel for anybody getting put in the wrong jail, because it could end your life. That could be it. Your first night might be your last night. And those are the kind of things that we have to take into consideration before we do these things, like deciding in that way to change countries. Instead of saying, I want to go to America, and if you have family up here, son, see if there's another way of doing it, get in a program. I'm sure the United States got some opportunities. They are really open on the left to that. And I just feel like it harms the tax-paying citizens in this country more than it helps them. And the priority should be the tax-paying citizens in the United States and not the immigrants. And I have friends who personally think I dislike immigrants, and I don't. And I feel bad when people say that, because you can't speak like an adult and offer people your point of view or how you're thinking without them looking at you as a good or a bad person or whatever. It's just how I feel. And I wouldn't personally take a job where I have to deport people all day. That would be too depressing. I wouldn't work in a prison. That's something that I'm completely against, is seeing people locked up in bars like animals. I couldn't do it. There's certain jobs I can't do. I like the winter schnitzel, but I couldn't work there. I'd be 900 pounds. Everybody know where they can work and where they can't work, and what they can do and what they can't do. But the United States isn't making it easy on us guys down at the bottom by bringing in a bunch of illegal immigrants and making us just figure it out.
Tremendous benefit. And I think one of the things that's interesting with this Maryland man, Mr. Garcia, is what is being talked about. Even if he's returned here, DHS could reopen his case based on change of circumstances and have him removed anyway, because when he was deported, the murder rate in El Salvador was staggeringly high, and now it's dropped 95% from about...
Damn. El Salvador's murder rate dropped 95%. If that guy snuck in this country because he was afraid of gangs, I think they can take him back now. He better not use that excuse. What is he going to say then? What would be a justifiable reason for him to be here now? If the fear of the being murdered, in high numbers is down to like a really, really safe country. Wow. Maybe his wife and kid might have to go over there and live. I bet you they could. But it really is nice living over here. It really is. But it should remain that way. It should remain a privilege. It should remain something for United States citizens. Or else it just takes that shine out of it for the rest of us. People up there making laws and imposing things on us that they don't have to endure. That's fucked up. It ain't right.
2,400 a year down to about 100 or so a year. They have a murder rate equivalent to Sweden, so he would be much safer in El Salvador, arguably, than he was if he was kept here.
Jonathan, President Bukele has said that the U.S. is paying El Salvador a fee of about $6 million to house these gang members in CCOT. I don't know about you, but that seems not like a whole lot of money. So I guess the question is, what's the benefit for El Salvador? What's their incentive to want to house these violent criminals from around the world on behalf of the United States?
It would seem their incentive, assuming the $6 million doesn't mean very much to them, my guess is would be the relationship value with the United States. Also, I think it sends a message, and he's been very clear on this message, that the gang activity in El Salvador is done. He wants it to be a safe country. So I think it sends a message not only within his country, but externally, that gang activity is not tolerated there. But I think mostly it's probably...
I wonder how they did it. I mean, it's a trip because I've never lived in a country that locked up people just for like really breaking, like they really had all the bad guys or you know, a high percentage of the bad guys locked up, as opposed to being locked up for just straight racism. And a lot of people go, no, they don't just lock them up because they're black. They break the law. And it's like, yeah, you take the white kids and you put them in that circumstance and continue to apply the law the way you do on blacks, and they'll be in prison too. Anybody who is deprived of all the long list of things that we ain't gonna even get into that black people are, will end up in prisons, homeless, on government programs. It's just what it is. And it's like, they know this. But when you bring an illegal immigrant in and you offer them those same programs, in addition to maybe some extra resources for starting businesses and things like that, and it's hard to keep people out of this country. Why wouldn't someone come here? You know, had a lot of other countries been next door to the United States, like Mexico is, and with a physical border, can you imagine being connected by land to the Middle East? Would the Democrats be that open to letting a lot of people from the Middle East in, or would they be the same way they are with the Mexican folks? Or if we were next to Sudan, would they let a whole bunch of folks who look like me in? Would they let them come on over? You know, this is the way we are, the Mexicans, because we're physically on that border, and I get it, but I just feel like, you know, the treatment is obvious. And that's one thing that the Trump administration needs to work on. That ain't right. You know, you got black dudes running around here. We can't do nothing without, let me see your ID and in your hands. You're like, whoa. And these people are just, we know, our presidents know when they're in bed, sleep at night, that people are just pouring into the country. How does he sleep? How did Biden sleep?
The relationship between him and the United States and him and other countries, and that's probably the main reason he's doing so.
Yeah, Stephen Miller was in that Oval Office meeting. He was also speaking outside of the White House today, and he seems to want to set the record straight that this is criminal migrants and those who are here illegally. Listen.
You seem to be under the impression that El Salvadorians living in our country illegally just get to stay here. They don't. They get arrested and deported. Then the fact that they're MS-13 just puts an extra priority on our deporting them. But we would deport someone to El Salvador regardless of whether or not they're MS-13 if they were here illegally.
Your reaction to that, Jonathan?
Let me give you mine. That sounds reasonable. For a person to say, of course, we place a higher priority on gang members, but if you are here illegally, you're going to get deported as well. That's reasonable. And when Democrats say, you can't, you're deporting Americans, they're not American citizens. And I think that those kind of talking points and that kind of thought process when we're talking about illegal immigrants is just unfair to American citizens.
Yeah, he's exactly right. There's almost this idea, and you see it in the media, you saw it with the previous administration, that people here illegally were presumptively treated as if they have every right to be here and every benefit of the United States, and they certainly don't. And I think this person from El Salvador is such a good example, because if he is a gang member, that's a reason to deport him. But if he's not, it's just as strong of a reason, because there's really no safety risk for him going back there if he's not. So there's really no good argument for him to stay. And the only reason he wants to stay is because it's better for him. And President Trump is making our...
That is what it's kind of sounding like. Sounds like the guy snuck in against all odds, kind of made it, kind of, probably was a young kid messing around. May have been a gang member, may have not, according to, it would be safe to accuse him of being one, because we have 2 government agencies that have identified him as an MS-13 member. So if that's true, and he got through the gang life and really probably wasn't a member no more, I don't know. Got a wife, got a kid, got a place, chilling. What could go wrong? Trump could win. And that's where the disconnect is. Because what if we went around and found all the illegal immigrants in the country who were living that kind of life? We might as well just give them all citizenship, because they really are coming here for a better way of life. And the ones who are breaking laws and gang members, that's the minority of them. That's a very, very small amount. But it is still not the kind of thing you want to just hit and miss and turn loose in a particular community and be that unfair and suck the resources out of that particular. People act like we don't have to share the classrooms. We don't have to share our supermarkets. We don't have to share the grocery stores. And the malls, all of those things that we have to share when you absorb a bunch of people in. And it makes your service and the quality that you were receiving less. It doesn't get better.
Immigration policy about what's better for the United States citizens, what's better for public safety, and he's been consistent on this all the way through.
I want to get your thoughts on some of the messaging from the Trump administration. They really seem to like to show their work, show the consequences. The last 4 years under the Biden administration, we'd be down at the border and we'd have lines of people, hundreds of people long, literally waving to our cameras in a single file line like they're in line at a theme park. Now we get these images, we were just showing them a moment ago, of people handcuffed, shackled, being put on flights, being stuffed into this notorious mega prison in El Salvador. That's intimidating for people who would maybe want to cross the border. The idea that, hey, I could be one of these guys, I could be sent to El Salvador. Do you think that messaging is in part behind these remarkably low numbers at the border right now?
Yeah, I would think that's one of the biggest factors in it, because it's really...
I think Trump needs to find some other folks and deport. This can go on simultaneously, but I think he needs to look at some Europeans and some Russians and some people who look more like him, and just so that we know he will deport white people, because it just has such a bad look, and it's a terrible thing to agree with him when he's right. He's fucking right. We don't need to be harmed by an influx of a whole bunch of people just because it helps them. It helps their life. And if they are told or have to say a certain thing to get in there, they're going to do that. And I get it. I understand. But I don't understand our quality of life being jeopardized. That's what I don't understand. Because I have children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles and dear friends and neighbors. And I don't want their quality of life affected either. And I just don't think that part is fair at all. And to me, the Democrats are not regarding us when it comes to that. And they don't speak on how we're being taken care of or accounted for or cared for during this transitional period. Or is this something that they just plan on letting it go on forever until we kind of merge where we're not a part of Mexico, but anybody who'd like to come live in the United States, just come on over. We'll find a job for you. That just sounds so much better than what people in the United States have to look forward to.
It's perfect. It sends the message, we're done. The Biden open borders, free stuff when you get here is over, and you'll be deported, and you'll be deported in a way that's not convenient for you. So I think it's very good. And all law enforcement, the strongest law enforcement is deterrence. You don't have law enforcement where you catch the bad guy. You want them not to do anything. That's why security, cops on the street, things like that are so strong at sending the message. And the administration has been so effective at that. Without any new resources, they've basically eliminated the problem at the southern border.
Jonathan, great to have you on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it just seems like the border problem down there isn't a problem. It's a game. And if one president closes it and one president opens it, mixed message. But the United States 4-year term for a president is a mixed message, you know. But our duopoly really isn't as far apart as they pretend it to be. As far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump is operating under the Constitution. In most cases, more than the Democrats are. The Constitution needs to be amended. I mean, really amended. I don't know how you would go about it. We had founding fathers and they built a nation, but it's what they call it, the great experiment. Well, the experiment is failing. Everybody ain't getting serviced in this experiment. Everybody ain't getting they just due. So does that mean that we should tear it down and it shouldn't exist anymore? I don't know. Or should we reinvent it? Should the Constitution be amended to the point where our system may not be the system that works? Maybe it needs to be represented in a different way. Instead of states, maybe they need to be represented in different ways. I don't know. I'm really confused and embarrassed that as a country and we're supposed to be the world leader and we got a president who just lashes out the way he does. We had another president who just did nothing for nobody the way he did. And you get the impression with the Democratic Party that the world is the priority and we take a back seat, but they do need us to be with them for our money. Hey, you coming? Yeah, get your wallet. You know, other than that, they don't need us either. I think it's a terrible thing. I really do. And I hope that you guys feel like I do, so I don't be the only person looking like a looking like a racist. But I don't feel like a racist. I just feel like it's the right thing to do. But when I hear other black people say that's racist, and it's just kind of a conditioning that we have where we just naturally just like to take care of other people. We like to make sure everybody else is okay. And it's really a wonderful trait, but not when you're amongst people who don't mean you well. When it's people out there who really aren't giving you a clean, fair shot, and you're giving them honest, open, genuine you. And they come at you in different ways and tell you different things that makes your life go in a direction different than their kids. And that's how you can tell if we live in a just society, because kids who may not come from certain areas will still have the opportunity, and not that Barack Obama shit. Barack Obama went to Harvard. He is a horrible example of a black person making it into the White House. And I don't believe that any of our black leaders from the past, the deceased ones, would be proud of President Obama becoming the first black president. He black, but you know what I'm saying. I just don't think they'd have been proud of him. Like, comment, share, and please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next Black Popcorn.